This is the second video for Lecture 8. In the previous video, we learned information asymmetry as a market failure. We also learned a model which applies information asymmetry concept to the public sector, especially a government-labor relationship. That model replaces consumers and sellers in a market with principal and agent in the government-labor relationship. The model sees hierarchical principal-agent relationship in the government as a proxy of economic contract in the market. In this lecture, we'll focus on issues of public workforce led by information asymmetry between principal and agent inside public organizations. We firstly see the problem of bureaus with hiring or recruitment. Specifically, individuals who place high value on leisure are likely to find the governmental job as appealing because supervision is minimal and productivity is difficult to measure. In contrast, high productivity individuals will find the measurement problem a negative factor since they want their true productivity to be observed and rewarded. As we learned in government failure theory, without direct performance indicator profits, bureaus tend to have unclear performance indicator or goals. So compared with profit organizations which have clear performance indicator and rewarding system, bureaus tend to have more applicants who place high value on leisure instead of applicants who have high motivation to work. Under such a situation, it's quite difficult for public managers to hire high productivity individuals because employers cannot observe the actual motivation and ability of applicants. That is information asymmetry, where applicants know more about themselves. So in this case of information asymmetry, where applicants know more about their ability and motivation, adverse selection occurs. Because this is the information asymmetry before the employment contract. As I explained in the previous video, adverse selection occurs with high risks. So in this case, adverse selection arises from unobservability of applicants' ability and motivation. So risk is this unobservability. In addition, without performance indicator and rewarding system, bureaus attract workers who place high value on leisure. This condition enhances risks of hiring low productivity applicants. As a consequence, managers hire workers who do not have appropriate skills or public service motivation. This is an issue of adverse selection in government recruitment. Then we move to see the problem with employment contracts caused by information asymmetry. Specifically, principal expects high productivity of agents for their goals. However, agent has its own self-interest such as leisure, so they might not pursue principal's objectives. The problem is that principal public managers cannot always observe the actual behavior of agents, workers. So information asymmetry here is workers know more about their productivity or their performance. This problem is a result of information asymmetry after the employment contract moral hazard. Moral hazard arises from unobservability of worker behavior rather than ability or motivation inside workers, so it's about hidden action. Since employer cannot always monitor workers' behavior, worker has incentive to substitute leisure for productive efforts. This shirking behavior of workers is more serious in bureaus than profit organizations because, as we learned, bureaus tend to attract low productivity applicants who place high value on leisure. So how to solve Such low productivity of government workers is a core issue of principal-agent model. In other words, how to solve information advantage of agents over principal is a core issue of the model. The model identifies two main problems of principal. First, design of monitoring system, performance measurement. Second, design of incentive structure, rewarding system. So principal-agent model suggests that to avoid shirking behavior of public workers, principal should weave these two components into the employment contract rather than tenure. As you know, the original principal-agent model comes from economics, especially study of profit organizations. Terry Moore applied that model to the public sector. So he suggests that government can find effective solution for shirking behavior by seeing what business firms actually doing for monitoring and incentive structure. The original theory suggests that information asymmetry between principal and agents becomes more serious in team production. In team production, principal would be team leader. It's difficult for team leaders to measure how much contribution each member made for team output. So in this case, team leaders' cost of monitoring might be greater than the benefits of monitoring. Without monitoring, some team members relied on other members' efforts and engage in leisure. The solution for this shirking behavior is to hire a professional monitor. According to the principal-agent model, professional monitor decides the amount of rewards based on their performance evaluation. Also, they are required to give some suggestion to principal to improve performance. Moreover, the professional monitor can terminate or revise contracts of workers based on their performance evaluation. However, there can be another problem with hiring a professional monitor. Who will monitor that professional monitor? Because professional monitor also might be shirking. A solution of principal-agent model for this problem is to decide the amount of rewards for professional monitor based on team's outcome or output. However, it's difficult for bureaus to hire professional monitor because civil service rules such as tenure does not allow a professional monitor to terminate the employment contract. So principal-agent model suggests that without removing such secured job position, government cannot improve the low productivity of workers. On the other hand, we can find some examples where public agencies adapt business model of monitoring and incentive structure to their service. For instance, in education, students' performance is measured by test scores. So principal teachers won't have much information asymmetry about students' actual ability. Further, teachers' salary and tenure will be determined by students' test score, how much improvement student made by receiving that teacher's lecture. In the US context, this is what No Child Left Behind did to improve US education performance. However, when the government tries to determine workers' payment or tenure based on performance evaluation, there can be several issues. First, multiple principles. Bureaus have hierarchical structure, and that structure has many layers. For instance, politicians, head of agency, senior officials, public managers. So agents should serve for many masters, and these principles may have different goals. As a consequence, goals of performance are not clear. Second, measurement. Some activities of public agencies cannot be observable. For instance, I worked for the Embassy of Japan in Uganda. If the goal of the Japanese embassy is to increase friendship between Japan and other foreign countries, it's quite difficult to measure individuals' performance for increasing friendship. Third, intrinsic motivation. Some workers might be motivated by intrinsic rewards such as professionalism or nationalism, rather than extrinsic rewards such as payment. If that is the case, incentive structure might not work for these workers. We'll see details in the later slides. In sum, performance pay suggested by principal-agent model might not work with these conditions. The final phase of principal-agent model is how to weave monitoring and incentive structure into the employment contract. So principal-agent model suggests that the employment contract should be designed to control behavior of workers through salary or hierarchical order. This means that tasks of workers can be changed by salary structure or hierarchical order. If the tasks are really fixed, the employment contract cannot affect behavior of workers. On the other hand, if tasks can be easily changed or flexible, workers' outcomes would be difficult to measure. Second, principal-agent model suggests that the employment contract should be designed to assess outcome of workers' performance, such as performance-based pay, commissions, or stock options. A key point of the employment design here is how to shrink the distance between principals and agents' interest. In some private firms, employer and employees share stocks. In that case, agents become co-owner of the firm, so they are motivated to work for outcome of the firm rather than individuals. Basically, outcome-oriented contract can be effective when outcomes are easy to measure. However, as I explained in the previous slide, behavior-based contract might require some difficulties of measuring outcomes. So an employment contract cannot achieve a perfect degree of both behavior-based and outcome-based perspectives. As you read in the course reading of Dilurio, there has been many critiques against principal-agent model. The main critique is that, in general, public officials are not motivated to shirk. Rather, many public officials are motivated to work for public interests. So Dilurio suggests that instead of monitoring system, the government needs to develop incentive structure which stimulates creativity, sense of duty, and a public spirit of their workers. This slide shows a summary of principal-agent model, but due to the limited time, I'll skip this. This is the end of this lecture. The next lecture is deeply related to principal-agent model because it's about contracting out. So see you in the next lecture.